Welcome to Istanbul, the stunning port city wedged between Europe and Asia, where you can discover incredible old world architecture, vibrant bustling shopping strips, aromatically overwhelming food halls, and every type of kebab you can imagine. There's some fun nightlife, and all surrounded by the glistening beauty of the Bosphorus Strait. We had just over 36 hours in this city to discover all of the best that Istanbul has to offer. Now, we had a somewhat unusual introduction to Istanbul. After taking a taxi from the airport to our hotel, the second we stepped outside of the taxi, Anne was grabbed by a poor gypsy begging her for money. It was by far the most aggressive beggar I'd come across anywhere in the world. She was not trying to hurt her, but the intimidation was obviously a tactic to try and get money. So it's a good reminder to just be alert to your surroundings and to keep a low profile. Now on to something a bit more exciting. It was a beautifully sunny day, so to get acquainted with the city, we thought we'd head straight to the water. So, we're about to get on a boat trip to go up and down the Bosphorus, see some sights, take in the sunshine, and 25 lira for an hour and a half round trip, not bad. Despite being a very busy shipping lane, this in no way dilutes your experience cruising along the Bosphorus. You will cruise past amazing waterfront landmarks like the Dolmabahce Palace, the Ortaköy Mosque, and the Maiden's Tower, which has a very sad story attached to it that involves an emperor, his daughter, and a basket of fruit. I don't know if this is true or just a legend, but it does make you look at the place through different eyes, so I don't want to give any spoilers. All throughout the cruise, you will go past a number of impressive seaside mansions, and then every so often, you'll find a spot where the water is accessible to the public and you'll see families and lots of kids just jumping in and out of the water, having a great time. There is also great contrast with the old town and ancient buildings on one side of the water, with modern bridges and these impressive mansions on the other. It's a really great way to spend a couple of hours in Istanbul and probably the best value tourist activity that you'll get in the city. Of course, the most recognisable part of the skyline is the Hagia Sophia and the Blue Mosque sitting atop of the hill in the old town. So we were excited to head over there to explore next. Our first stop was the Blue Mosque. Something that's quite interesting for tourists is that in the grounds surrounding the mosque, there's a number of info panels that provides information about the Islamic faith. This was an eye-opener for me because I didn't really know much about it. I won't comment too much on the contents of those boards, but it was a learning experience. And before you can enter, you have to remove your shoes and also make sure that your dress is in line with Muslim customs. This means a headscarf for Anne, of course, but for guys, a little bit more relaxed. Once inside, etiquette is critically important, but as long as you are relatively quiet, dressed appropriately, and don't film or take photos of people in prayer, then you should be okay. The building itself is a grand sight, with much of the interior consisting of hand-decorated tiles, covering the multiple domes of the mosque's design. Even the courtyard outside is expansive and an amazing sight. So we head over to the Blue Mosque. The signs everywhere saying the proper dress code. Shoulders, not allowed. Head, not allowed.
No.
Was it? No?
No.
Okay. But I'm doing a terrible job of showing you my shorts. Shorts, also not allowed. Now they do hand out temporary scarves and pant thingos. Anyway, we go up there, she gets a headscarf. They look at me and they're like, no, you'll be fine. Shorts everywhere. Next up, and right next door, is the Hagia Sophia. This building is almost 1,500 years old, and in its lifetime has served as a Christian cathedral, a mosque, and today a museum. And the only word you could use to describe it is astonishing. The grand arches and the huge dome that towers over you, combined with the marble columns and flooring, make this a real trip back in time. Our next stop was my favourite of the day, but before we head over there, if you're enjoying the video, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Just a few blocks away is the Basilica Cistern, also known as the Sunken Palace. We nearly skipped this one because the idea of an underground reservoir didn't sound great on paper, but I'm so glad we chose to go there because it turned out to be one of my absolute favourite things that we did in all of Turkey. This underground chamber was a water source for residents of the city for over 1,000 years. But the historical function of this place says nothing about what the experience is like to walk around. And it's very difficult to describe. All I remember is as we descended into this big open chamber, I was overcome with a feeling of fascination and intrigue, and I could have walked around down there for hours. It can be a tough few hours navigating the crowds at all of these famous destinations, but the surrounding area has an abundance of kebab shops. So if you're hungry, there's no shortage of places to try some tasty Turkish cuisine. As we started to head out of the old town, we had one final stop at the Istanbul Spice Bazaar. This is not one for those with a sensitive nose. The aroma of the mix of spices in the air is really intense, but it's incredible. So while it was fun to walk around and explore, we didn't eat much there because we were saving ourselves for our sunset rooftop dinner overlooking the Bosphorus. By the time we got back to the Taksim Square area, which was right near our hotel, the place was absolutely bustling, and the nightlife was just starting to emerge. But that was just a warm-up for what was an incredible dinner overlooking the city of Istanbul. I don't usually talk about restaurants on the channel much, because they're always changing and discovering things for yourself is half the fun. But this was honestly one of the most memorable restaurant experiences I've ever had. The view was amazing, the food fantastic, the cocktails were sensational, and the atmosphere simply unmatched. And by the time we finished up dinner, Istanbul was just warming up and starting to show its true colours. There was an endless labyrinth of back streets and alleyways, all littered with bars, restaurants, and just fun places to hang out.
Trying to get the music in. So we're taking in the back streets of Istanbul. The cultural music is fantastic. And enjoying a few quiet cocktails in inappropriate glasses. But they'll do.
And then we eventually found a cool little club where we could cut loose a little bit. I'm sure that sounded awful on the recording, but you get the idea. And in the morning, when looking for a slightly hungover breakfast, we stumbled across the Hagia Street, which is very well known for having the hanging umbrellas. It's a beautiful spot and was a great place to cap off our 36 hours in Istanbul.